Board members, we're going to begin. We're a few minutes late, but I think we can catch up. We definitely have a quorum here. Want to welcome all of our visitors today. But let's get started. First thing on our agenda is an action item. I'm seeking a motion to approve the last meeting's meeting minutes. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Voting is unanimous. Public comment. I'm not seeing any on the sign up. Do you know of any? Okay, we're going to move to the next item, which is I'm seeking a motion to go into executive session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. Okay, this is roll call. We'll start with Board Member Cannon.
Aye. 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 Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Carol.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're going into executive session. Seeking a motion to come out of executive session. Second. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, voting was unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we're out of executive session. Next item is item 5, which is there any motions coming out of this executive session to the SITLA board? Just a note, if we take no action, then SITLA will just follow their normal course of action, playing out those two options. So is there any motions from the board?
Yeah, I move that we instruct SITLA to sell the property. Can I make that motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Would it be on recommend?
Oh, I move that the state board recommend to SITLA to sell the property in question.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Will the ayes raise their hand?
You have to say out there. I can't.
Oh, okay. We have Janet. We have Linda. We have Scott. We have Laura. There's 4. Any more on this side? I'm an aye. But it doesn't pass. Okay. Any other board member Reeby?
I make a motion to take no action. No,
Well,
I can't do that?
No.
Okay.
No. It's by lack of a motion then. Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
What's that? Thank you. Wait. Hang on.
Wait, it's not over.
Sorry, I wanted to make a motion.
Oh, I didn't see your light on. I apologize.
I should have
Okay.
put my light on. I would like to instruct SITLA that they just move forward with the making sure that they're maximizing in the best interest of the children, whether that means holding on to it versus selling, but that you're not putting all these other things in play as much as just what is the most maximized profit for the students.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, that's my motion, that we recommend that that's what's happening.
that's already what, if I might speak to that, that's what they're already doing. And I think we're already on record that.
Okay, well, that's different than saying we don't have any recommendations is what I was.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So their processes they're going to continue your process on both issues. Thank you. Okay, moving to item 6, monthly budget report. Are we bringing it up here? Or are we looking on our board docs? Okay, turn the time over to you, Carl.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon on a beautiful spring day in February. I was amazed to see the daffodils and tulips popping out here by the little tree, just out on the plaza. Anyway, we've got a good financial report to present to you today. As of January 12th, we've received $17 million of our $35 million budgeted on revenues, which account for 48%. We've expended $17.8 million of the $35 million, which is approximately 50% of our budget. On this first page, I just want to bring to your attention down the second box. You'll have a capital expenditure with a blank for the budget amount. That number should be $1,003,000. We, since last board meeting, board member Reby asked a really good question about percentages, and we went in, did the research, and found out that these capital improvements that we've made, buying the Springville land and also remodeling the cottages, were all carry forward funds, and so that should be added to the budget amount. So there's no big swings in terms of percent variance on either positive or negative. We are serving currently 1,643 students. Our land grant enrichment funds balance is $1,728,000, and our donated funds balance is just $1,007,000. On the next page, showing more of the detail of the revenues of the $16.9 million or $17 million. Everything's in line. Right after we ran these financial reports, we got out our semi-annual school district billings that counts for about another $300,000 in revenue, and Medicaid came in about another $360,000. So our revenues are just right there with our expenditures, and it's a good place for us to be. On that page down there at the bottom in the middle column for budget, where there's no number, that should be the $1,003,000 number as well. On the next page, showing our enrichment funds, down at the bottom it shows we spent $175,000, which is for the Springville playground, and we only had a budget of $20,000, but that $20,000 should be $195,000. So we'll make those corrections, and that next month's financials will reflect those changes. And then we've got the enrichment fund project list that shows that of the $1.4 million, we've expended $535,000, and there's $910,000 remaining to be spent or incurred. And that's the financial report. Be happy to answer any questions, or if we don't have answers, we'll go find them and report back to you.
Okay, any questions? Board Member Belknap?
What are the canteen sales?
That's our vending machines.
Oh, canteen.
Yes.
Okay.
Board Member Hanson?
Just want to make sure I'm reading this right, but it looks like in revenue and operations that you're over budget in quite a few areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, and some of those that show they're small dollar amounts, and so when you have just a little bit more than what was budgeted, the percentages tend to be exaggerated just because of the smallness.
The educator salary adjustment is $207,000 over.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Did it go? Oh, it is. Okay. What that should be, whatever we submit to USOE. So they just put a number in there to understand what we think we're going to have of educators having a pass through from there. But it's whatever we submit, we get. So it always will be an equal amount, no matter what we put in that first column. Yeah. At the end of the year, it always balances. It isn't an overage.
Okay.
Superintendent?
I think the point's well taken that we underestimated what it would be. Fortunately, it won't impact the budget because it's a zero sum at the end. But next year, I'm guessing, is there a reason that we under budgeted so far? Or was that just like previous years, that was our average? Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, this concludes the budget report. Thank you, Carl. Next up is item 7. We'll have Robin Clark, Program Coordinator. Do you want to do any
Yes,
introduction here?
yes, go right ahead. Carolyn, do you want to introduce Robin? Since she works for you?
There we go. Yes, Robin Clark is my expanded core curriculum coordinator. It's specific for the blind, and she is busy passing out what we call occluders. So we're going to let you have the option of wearing those so that you can get an idea what some of our students live with on a daily basis. It'll also help you understand why the blind has a special curriculum just to teach kids specific areas that they need that they don't get because they pick up so much through their eyesight, which they don't have. So we thought it would be fun today to bring in a little taste of blindness to your world and introduce to you a special unique program that we have at USDB. It makes us uniquely different from other LEAs and their special education programs as well. So when I hired Robin about 3 years ago, I knew what I was missing in my program was an emphasis on this additional instruction that blind children need. And so I'm going to turn the time over to her. She's the author of your Hungry Hungry Hippo game that you had at your retreat. So prepare yourself for a ride. Anyway, introduce you to Robin Keating Clark, my expanded core curriculum coordinator.
All right, so thank you for letting me come and present today with you. Go ahead and put them on for another second. It's okay, you do have the ones with the funny ones. Put them on for just a second, as much as you can. This often happens actually whenever we do simulators, so we do know that it can be very disorienting for people. But the point that we just want to make is most people assume that vision impairment is all or nothing. Either they don't have any vision and that's what makes somebody blind. And I think if you can look around the room or if you've poked through yours, you can see that there's all different types of vision impairment. And that's because vision impairment is a spectrum disorder. We have kids that can't see in lots of different situations for lots of different reasons. So this kind of gives you a chance for it. And when you think about listening to my presentation or talking with me or even talking to each other, if you were to turn to each other and have a conversation, you'd probably giggle because you feel a little funny right now. But there would be different things that would be hard for you to pick up. It would be harder for you to know if somebody was listening to you. It would be harder to know what things are going on around you because you don't have that vision to let you know what's happening. And because that is such a big loss for everybody, we have something called the expanded core curriculum. So now you don't need to continue wearing them. You can peek through them from time to time if you'd like. And I would encourage you from time to time to peek through, but we do know that sometimes they can give you a little bit of a headache. So as Carolyn said, my name is Robin Clark, and I just have to say I am more than excited to be at USDB doing what I get the opportunity to do. I get to be part of a great team, and we have had the great opportunity for the last 3 years to create magic that is not often seen in schools for the blind or for programs for the blind. And I've had the privilege to go and represent our school and present what things we are doing. And it's been great to know that we are leading the way with this instruction. The expanded core curriculum is not just a Utah thing. It's actually a nationally recognized education that all students with vision impairments need. And this is regardless if they have a multiple impairment, if they're typically developing, or how much vision they have, or where they live. All students with vision impairments need this expanded core. The next part on my presentation is that it is not a replacement to academic instruction. And this is one of the most important things that I need everybody to recognize about the expanded core. When we provide this instruction to our students, it does not replace the core curriculum subjects because all students need that. So this is something in addition to that core curriculum instruction. The expanded core is what makes our school and our teachers unique. because there's lots of special ed teachers out there. But what makes our special ed teachers different is their teaching of the expanded core. It's what makes our schools different, our programs different, and our whole world much different. Those are some pretty awesome selfies. If anybody's on social media, if you could just use the hashtag 9morethancore on Instagram, that would be awesome. Yep, it'll be on your presentation, but if anybody takes a selfie or anything, if you could just hashtag that, that would be awesome, because I already started a thread about this today. We don't have a Twitter one. We have a Facebook group and we have a social media one, but if you could please share these pictures, that would be awesome. Okay, so do you have an Instagram account? Yes. Okay, if you have an Instagram account, you can just, well, I'll start with Instagram. Okay, so start with Instagram and use the hashtag 9morethancore, the number 9. In fact, I'll go back. See right there? The number 9morethancore, you'll see that. That's actually the Instagram that we have for the expanded core. But if you could totally use that hashtag, that would be great. If you're on Facebook, you could go to 9morethancore and just share this sweet little picture. That would be awesome as well. Or I can put my iPhone on, and if you have an Apple, you can just airdrop it to me. All right. So we teach the expanded core differently than we teach core curriculum instruction. And that's the first thing I really need you to know, is that we do this differently. And I'm going to go with sequencing and telling you how we do it in different situations. So the first place we teach the expanded core is in the classroom in our campus programs. So we provide teachers with, oh, I can't read that far away. Okay, we provide it with instructional coaching, resources, and training. So one of the things that I do is I provide one-on-one instruction for our teachers, both our campus teachers and our outreach teachers, so that they have the most readiness, the newest strategies available for teaching the expanded core. We offer specialized classes. So teachers provide this expanded core as it naturally occurs in their classroom from the moment kids get off the bus throughout their day. But then I also come in and we do specialized classes. And so 2 of the specialized classes that we have is STEM education and the Financial Academy. And so these are special classes where we're not just teaching budgets, we're teaching about money and financial literacy for somebody with a vision impairment. So we go over accessible budgets, ways that they can fold their money and store their money, things that are very specific to people with vision impairments. And then the last thing we have are the expanded core campus day programs and activities, such as the Sensory Carnival for families. So we invite our families to come and be part of the learning so that they know how to do it as well. But sometimes there are different parts that are difficult for teachers to teach, and so we've provided them with resource kits. So these resource kits have a lesson plan, it has materials, manipulatives, and it lets teachers know how they can teach difficult topics such as seasons of the year, recess, dramatic play, career education. Those can be very difficult for teachers to teach to children who can't see. So I want to draw everyone's attention to the picture that's on the board. And this year, we are very excited because one of our classes that we started was STEM education. And so students receive bi-weekly STEM education classes. And the picture that you're looking at right now is one of our students who has a vision impairment and is learning about circuiting and coding. So she has an accessible circuit board and she is learning all of the principles of electricity and circuiting. Students with vision impairments, we don't want them to be left behind in STEM education. I'm sure everybody in this room is very familiar with how important STEM education is. So we do these things so that our kids can be part of it, and another way that they can be socially relevant with their peers. Some examples of the topics that we've done, the one that I just showed you, electricity and circuiting. We've also done engineering products. We started robotics, which is a 6-week program that we'll be doing, and we do experiments. There are some pictures just on the board for everyone to look at of some of our STEM lessons, and they've been very exciting. For lack of time, I'm just going to pass by this, but I'm happy to share this presentation with anybody here. This is one of our students in our STEP program. He has no vision, and he learned the principles behind using Instamorph, which is a moldable plastic, and he built a character all by himself using the Instamorph and knew exactly what he was doing. The next one that we started on our campus programs are the Financial Academy. We have partnered with Junior Achievement for this, and one of the principal reasons we've selected Junior Achievement is because in many of the school districts, kids are using Junior Achievement. So again, it allows our kids to be socially relevant with their peers. Students receive comprehensive financial literacy instruction paired with skills from the expanded core curriculum. Our younger students are enrolled in a basic program, while our older students are enrolled in personal finance and business finance. I just want to briefly talk about our short-term expanded core academies that we have statewide. The Academy short-term programs offers opportunities for our students to come to our campus and have instruction, and this is the best part. These students are learning the skills that they need in their own home communities with their parents, because we often find that their parents don't know how to facilitate instruction. That's very important for our students. The Academy short-term program partners with the parents using a third-party curriculum. So we provide a way that parents can do this with their students in their own homes. And 2 of our short-term academy programs have been launched very successfully this year. The first one was the Cooking Academy, and right now we are in the Financial Academy and the Mini Financial Academy for our younger students. And then these are just some fantastic little pictures. So the students have to vlog in. I don't know if anybody's familiar with vlogging, but it's when you take videos of yourself, you have to upload it. So we're utilizing assistive technology. And so these are some of the highlights of the students cooking in their own homes with their families. The best part about the Academy short-term programs is that parents also receive training. Again, parents often don't know how to facilitate the instruction that their children need. And so this is us at the Salt Lake Culinary Academy. The lower picture are our parents wearing the very same simulator goggles that you are, and they had to eat an entire meal that way. And then the longer one on the right side is we also made them clean up. So all of our parents had to do the same things that they're expecting their students to do, or their children. We continue to offer fantastic expanded core programs and camps at our school. We partner with the universities so that university students that are going into programs such as occupational therapy and recreation therapy get to know the unique needs of children with vision impairments. They come to our programs and receive training. Here's a little overview of the programs that we've offered. I'm very excited to tell you about White Cane Day that was hosted at the Discovery Gateway Children's Museum. And is anybody familiar with the Discovery Gateway Museum? It's a fantastic museum that we took over for that day. In fact, we had over 200 people attend, and our focus was on STEM for all. So our babies all the way up to our high school students came with their families and was able to see the museum completely accessible for them. Since then, we've gone on to do accessibility upgrades at all of the major museums so that anytime a child with a vision impairment wants to visit any type of museum, from the aquarium to Thanksgiving Point to Discovery Gateway Museum, that museum knows how to make things accessible for that child with a vision impairment. We've also done an assistive tech training with the Apple Store, and we did an arts program. Is anybody familiar with American Ninja Warrior? Okay, you're going to love this because our December program was Ninja Jam. We spent the first half of our program learning how to conquer life obstacles, and guess what we did next? We went to an American Ninja Warrior gym, and we were coached by a real American Ninja Warrior who did make it to Mount Midoriyama 3 times.
Wow.
And then coming up in February, we have Behind the Scenes of a Social Life. That's our next one. Go ahead.
So have you been to the Children's Ninja Warrior facility in Sandy?
That one just opened up. We actually went to Ninja Warehouse, which is operated by Carson Voiles.
Okay.
And so there was one in Ogden that was really close to our school. So that's the one where we started out at.
Okay. I've been to the Sandy ones.
They're very nice facilities. And it was great for our students to see that they could be part of something like this as well. So here are some pictures of us at the Apple Store. And then I'm watching the time, but if you would just indulge me to show you this 10-second clip, it's worth seeing our students at the Ninja Warrior gym. I want to keep in mind that the 2 students that I'm going to show you have no vision at all. Oh, you have your volume down. There she goes. Oh man, this is all about blind kids can. Okay. I don't think they need to hear my mouth talking. There he goes. Yep. You got it, Reese. You got it, Reese. So there's a little clip. We did pre-teaching beforehand, and then they just got up there and did it themselves. Talk about something that made you feel like you really could do things. Now, there are some difficult things for all of you Ninja Warrior fans that might be difficult, like the warped wall. And so this next clip, again, this student has no vision. We practiced on the practice warped wall until they could go over to the actual warped wall and knew how to grab. And so I am actually running next to her, and you're going to see how she learned how to do the warped wall. Now pay attention to the smile on her face.
Oh, we gotta get her picture out there, baby. Woo-hoo.
That was just fun to see. The last thing I'm going to end with is I know everyone is familiar with our study abroad programs. We're very excited about the progression of it. Australia was selected because it is another country that recognizes the expanded core curriculum the way that we do. So students are able to work with staff and other students in Australia that do the same exact lessons that we do in the expanded core curriculum. 7 students were accepted to our program, and our application procedure was set up similar to applying for a college scholarship. We actually used real questions that our students could use again when they were applying for a college scholarship. Students complete weekly projects based on both the core and the expanded core curriculums. They use technology to communicate with the Australian staff and students prior to the trip. So they've already sent over their video intros. We've set everything up. So they have the opportunity to talk with all of their Aussie mates, as we call them, before we even head over there. And then students have 2 on-campus full-day programs in addition to weekly projects where we come and we work on all of the skills that they'll need in order to go not only to Australia, but we've really found that these are the life skills that they need, period. The exciting part is that we are unaware of any other study abroad programs that are specifically designed for students with vision impairments. We are a national leader in the expanded core implementation. Other programs have started to follow our model that we established when we did the Capabilities Ireland exchange program, which has been very excited about that. Just so you know, part of our 7 are students from all over the state. So we have students that are as far away as Monroe, Cottonwood Heights, Harriman, Murray. From every student was able to hear about this program. And so we have made it possible that everybody had the opportunity to come. They have to practice their transportation. So our Monroe students, they get a bus ride all the way to Provo. And then we are working with their mobility instructors so that they learn how to catch the front runner to come all the way up to our Ogden campus so that we can utilize transportation together. It's been a fantastic program and we're very excited about it.
Okay. We have a question or comment from board member Lisa Cummins.
Yeah, the couple of slides that you talked about, can you add that to your slide presentation that's on the board docs? Because
Yes.
we're missing some of that, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
it'd be
thought
good
we
to
had
have
that one.
reference. Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure that you get it.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Any questions? Vice Chair Ellis?
This isn't a question. I just wanted to thank you for this little visual thing. I have a daughter with exotropia strabismus, and so her vision isn't very bad, but it helped me understand because she sees double vision and gets headaches a lot because her eyes aren't in focus together. So thank you.
Well, we should talk later about her coming out to short-term programs then, because she could be among good friends. Well, the offer is always on the table. And, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I couldn't help but resist to tell the superintendent that Carl's report actually looked a little more rich to me from the lens on the left. So if anyone has any questions regarding his report, you can borrow this one.
I just want to end with the last thing. Oops, sorry. If we go back, if you would like to follow what we are doing for the expanded core curriculum, you are welcome to follow us on Instagram. I love doing our Instagram. It's a way of seeing the expanded core in everyday life. We also run a very successful Facebook group where we can give tips, information, and share with teachers on how we can do the expanded core curriculum. And my very last slide is on what's our future? What are we doing next? And the next thing we're doing are continue to provide online resources And the part that I didn't want to make sure I wanted to make sure I included before I left was our residential component to the new expanded core programs that we'll be doing. We're expanding with a college success program, a transition program, so that we are making sure that we are looking at all of the students statewide and identifying what those needs are. Now they won't just come for a program, but they'll have the opportunity to come and spend a day or two or even a week at our school to receive the intensive instruction that they need. And since they are statewide and because of the resources and support that we have, we're able to follow up with these students in their own homes and in their own communities, because that's what really matters. If they come to us and receive great instruction or do something fun, that's fantastic, but what's their quality of life? And that's what we're after. How can we build successful, independent people with a vision impairment? And so these programs allow us to teach that, but to go beyond and to work with their families and their teachers so that they're successful in their own communities. And the last part of what is just exactly what I just said. We are constantly looking at the needs of all of our students. I am grateful. Sorry I went over just a tiny bit, but I hope you're okay with that. Do we have any other questions that I can address at this moment?
Questions from the board? I'm not seeing.
Okay, I hope
Thank
no
you.
questions are good questions then. Thank you so much for all of your time. And if you did post this on Instagram, I'll be looking for you. So thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you. Next up on our agenda is we're privileged to have from our USDB Advisory Committee a report from Committee Chair Chris Bischke. So I want to come up to the mic.
You never know.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be here in person to represent the Utah Schools for the Deaf and the Blind Advisory Council. As Chairman Huntsman mentioned, I am the current chair of the Advisory Council. I'm here specifically because at the meeting on January 4th, there were a couple questions regarding the Advisory Council's concerns specific to the enrichment funds. So we got together last week at our meeting and rediscussed those concerns so that I could bring to you their actual concerns in that. Prior to doing that, I want to give you a little bit of background information. Typically, the enrichment funds requests are received by the Advisory Council in April or May. For reasons that I honestly don't remember why we did not receive the enrichment fund requests until August, September of last year. And so it was kind of a rush situation to get things approved in that. After we receive the enrichment fund requests, we form a committee of 3 council members, and these individuals get together prior to our advisory council meeting to review the requests. They touch base with Associate Superintendent Tanner and Lassiter, I'm pointing to the wrong people, but I know who you are, to ask questions to clarify the requests so they have a better understanding of what the requests are. And then they bring that information to the Advisory Council for further discussion, further questions and that. And during this meeting, the committee members mentioned that they had a couple concerns, and as we discussed the items, council members, in addition to those committee members, had concerns as well. So those are the concerns that I wanted to share with you. At the September meeting, there were a few items on the funding requests that were tabled because given the discussion time allotted, we didn't have time to thoroughly find the answers that we needed. So we tabled those concerns to the October meeting. But as many of you recall, we met in September, and then we ended up having a joint meeting on October 13th with the board. And because of that, we did not have a October Advisory Council meeting. In addition, at the October 13th meeting, the board approved the enrichment fund requests. And knowing that the board had already approved them, the council chose not to revisit the concerns because we figured at that point it was kind of a moot point. So not that that's a bad thing, but that's kind of where we went with that. So the concerns that we discussed last week in reference to what we had discussed back in September included the amount of the funds. There were comments, questions, concerns, however you want to phrase it. Could the funds be used more effectively elsewhere? Should we look at allowing travel every other year? specific to criteria. Is there an application? What are the specific requirements? What is the impact of having a GPA requirement for students versus looking at whether or not the students are making progress? And then the specific process for approval. Looking at distribution, the council members were concerned and wanted to make sure that the information on, and let me back up just a step. Most of the concerns were specific to the request for the international travel. So that might help you better understand why their concerns were these different items. So distribution, they wanted to make sure that the information was being shared with all students across the state of Utah who were blind, visually impaired, deaf, or hard of hearing. We just wanted to make sure that that was truly getting out to USDB outreach, to the school districts, to teachers of the deaf, teachers of the visually impaired, and so forth and so on. Priority. Can students who have traveled previously travel again, and how is that determined? Liability. Knowing that the students would be traveling internationally without their parents is obviously a concern, and we have received information that risk management has been included in these discussions. A concern that came up a little bit more recently was in response to the fact that, or not the fact, but the component that the deaf trips are more ASL focused, and the committee members or council members expressed their concern that LSL students might not be accommodated so that they could participate on these trips. And council members expressed the concern and the desire to look at this further so that we can make sure that LSL students can be accommodated, whether it be on deaf and hard of hearing or USDB trips or public school trips, so that they can receive the accommodations that they need specific to amplification or issues with background noise. I'm trying to think what else they talked about, but just making sure that that every student within USDB and within the state is being given the opportunity to truly participate in these travel opportunities. So what now? So the Advisory Council is working to identify a process to ask questions prior to the AC meeting where the enrichment funds will be considered for approval. We're looking at identifying questions specific to enrichment fund requests to help with the process. We are going to continue to ask that enrichment fund requests be received in April or May so that there is time to review and approve before the need for the funds to be spent. And the Advisory Council is obviously communicating with USDB administration, but also will communicate with the board so that we are all clear on any concerns that there might be as those funds requests come to the board. So we're all on the same page.
Does that conclude your?
And that, yes, thank you.
And so thank you. I especially appreciate the what now. I appreciate the history, but more so where you're going right now. And I've got a few questions, but I'll save them. Maybe board members are going to be asking them. Board Member Reeby.
Thank you so much for visiting with us today. It's kind of exciting for us to hear how this whole process was taking place. I'm new to the board, relatively speaking, but we had a lot of concerns and we had a lot of questions. And I guess concerns isn't the right statement because they're just questions. Like last time we learned that every child gets an opportunity, which it sounded like it didn't because the number was so small. And so this has been a learning process for us, and it makes it easier for us to advocate for you guys, to support you when we understand all the variables involved. So thank you for answering our questions. Thanks for addressing our concerns. Thanks for educating us so we can further champion the cause of these students. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Other board questions or comments? To Chair Biskey? Yes, Board Member Hanson.
Just to thank you. Thank you for all the time you spend. I've been on a lot of volunteer boards, and I appreciate you and all the other board members and all the time that you spend trying to make things better for these students.
You're welcome. And obviously we do it for the students. So.
Any other? I had a couple things. What you do not only benefits the students, but it benefits us.
Good.
And so you are our advisory committee. And so we're glad you're asking all these questions, whether they're hard or easy, whatever they are, they're all relevant. And so thank you. The what now and moving forward is, from our perspective and as from the chair's perspective, if there are questions that are not being answered, it might not give you the answer you want, but if there's unresolved questions in that, we seek those early. I seek those early so we can communicate and make sure we have the best communication possible. So that invitation still stands. Stand there. Also really appreciate if you could pass this on to your committee. We appreciate all the hours and work that they put into this. I know they take it very seriously. There's a strong advocacy for the students and the children, and that shouldn't go without being noticed. And thank you for your leadership too with that committee. So thank you. Is there anything else that needs to come before or needs to go to Chair Biskey? Do you have anything you need to add? Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Just let us know when you want to be placed on the agenda. Okay, thanks. Okay, next up is the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so it looks like we have 3 items there. The first is very exciting for us. Susan Thomas, if you would stand up, please. Susan is our new communications director. She comes very highly recommended and came over from public safety and emergency management and all that. And it was a very competitive process. We had a lot of applicants. And so anyway, we're just delighted to have her. She's a great fit for our organization, and you should see some great results coming forward. That's our hope, right? But anyway, it's been great. This is our first week, so we were glad we actually had our board meeting this week. Anyway, and you'll all be tweeted because of her being here today, probably. All right. The next item we have is an update on the Springville building. And so Superintendent Tanner has this pulled up on her computer. This is the slide deck I used for our presentation to the Public Education Appropriations Committee on Wednesday this week. And the end of this, so you can just fly through the slides until you get to the pictures of the building. Those are our IFRs, and here it is. They asked about our Springville campus, and so I thought I would just give you the same briefing that I gave them. We've got the 7-acre lot in Springville. It's currently in the design phase. We plan to have design completed enough to go out to bid by May and hopefully put shovels in the ground in June. And we've been on schedule ever since the beginning of this operation, so we're optimistic that will happen. The construction market has increased significantly, as most of you have probably heard throughout your various circles in your life. Just completely skyrocketing. We've fortunately just built the building here in Salt Lake, so we learned a lot of things, and we've got very accurate cost estimates, and we've actually learned about things we could do a little more efficiently, or maybe things that weren't as necessary as we thought they were. So we've been able to trim down a lot of our needs, but still design a very, very nice building. Nothing on the scale of Salt Lake. It'll be a smaller elementary school. As you can see in this picture, it's kind of a sideways capital H with a main core here. The entrance would be here near the parking lot. These are classrooms across the top and the bottom. And you'll notice this classroom is gray, and these hallways here are gray. And these are just 2 pads for additional classrooms in the future. The reason this classroom and the hallways are grayed out is because those are what we call add alternates in the design. And we think with our forecasting, we probably won't be able to, it'll be designed, but it probably won't be built, just to stay within the budget. When the Public Ed Appropriations Committee heard that, Representative Gibson asked some very forthright questions and indicated that he thought it was important to build the whole thing. So I don't know, we haven't asked or made a request for that, but anything could happen during the legislative session. So if you want to go forward a couple of slides there, you can see a couple other elevations. Here's a more clear outline. The two courtyards in the middle will be preschool, kindergartens. The center gym part opens completely on both sides. So when it's good weather outside, we can have a lot of communication through there. And there's a little stage area. If you go to the next slide, here's what an elevation might look like as you walk up to the school. And then the next slide will show you a couple of interior views where it's open. You can see kids running around, little shadow children, and one with a white cane there that's actually right in the middle of the left picture. And then if you keep going, yeah, and then this is sort of a couple of mock-up elevations for the outside of the building. And that's our briefing. Be happy to answer any questions so far about the building.
Board Member Hanson?
Has it got all that glass? It looks like it's got quite a bit of glass, like the one that you have over here.
It does. The interior
can
and the
see.
hallways, there's a lot of open glass, and on the outside, not so much, right? But inside in the courtyards and everything,
you
a lot
can
of
see it.
natural light. We also used a different HVAC system than what we've been struggling with at our brand new building. This one is actually less advanced and more reliable
Okay.
and more efficient to run. So,
And the other question I had was, are we going to be invited to the groundbreaking and all of
yes.
that? Okay. Because
Once we get dates for that after the bid process, we will certainly involve
that'd be
that.
great.
Thank you.
Just as a note that if you could explain to him who's providing the oversight on all of the construction and all of that. We're not doing it independent of
Right.
the state.
No.
So it's not really ours. We're following under.
Yes, the Division of Facilities and Construction Management, DFCM. We have a new project manager. The one for this building has since retired, and he's fantastic. He's been doing some very heavy lifting with Springville City. Part of the increase in costs that were so significant was the construction market, like I mentioned, but also we've got a lot of infrastructure we've had to commit to installing that will help development in that entire area. And he's done some very good, hard negotiating with that. And then there's also just some site work that had to be done. DFCM has been helpful in helping us to mitigate some of the cost estimate overruns. And then, so we're very excited in this difficult market. I think we're lucky we only had the overruns we did because it's a small building. If we were higher ed right now, on a $40 million building, they might have $6 million of room to make up. And so DFCM said, we'll take care of this, make sure it gets done. You've done everything you could to design it responsibly. And so we're on track. And then the last item is the update from the Public Ed Appropriations Committee. We reviewed in addition to the building, we reviewed our funding requests for our teacher salary increases and described the single lane salary scale that we went to and all of that, and got very supportive feedback from the members of the committee. And then the other one is our USIMAC sustainability plan. And they asked very good questions about Braille production, large print, and those things. And they seem to be very supportive. So you never know until the Bill of Bills passes at the end of the session, mid-March. But so far, so good. We've received lots of support from those committee members.
Any questions for the superintendent? Let's conclude your report.
That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is seeking if there's not any questions or comments for the superintendent, a motion to adjourn. A second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we're good.